MJF kicked off Dynamite this week, and I just have a few things to say about it. My word, I miss this guy. Also, hello, my friends, and welcome to Ups and Downs, the show where I, Simon Miller, the guy with no hair, tell you what I think about professional wrestling, and I do this with this, the finger of power. And sometimes it points up, and sometimes it points down, but ultimately, we're still friends, we're still buddies. The whole point is we should unite in our beauty, and I don't know what that means. But again, please feel free to share your opinions in the comments below, and then we'll go and skip through a forest. Let's up those down. MJF did head out though to start this episode of AEW, and this time he's just wearing the leather jacket without the jean jacket, so I will miss that. When he was like, we're in Colorado, look at my eyes, they're all red and squinty. So I presume he was telling us that maybe he had done some drugs. He then started to show his merchandise and the upcoming pay-per-views when he said everybody is on notice. I was like, wait a minute, what the flub did I do? He was mad at the entire roster though, because look at all these things that had happened when he was out with injury. And let's start with the Rainmaker. He keeps walking around saying, I've got so much money. But apparently, he can't even afford a gym membership. That's like, well, Max is definitely back. Friedman then also talked about Swerve Strickland, who was meant to have the Mogul Embassy, but they all turned on him. And he also walks around saying, man, I'm such a good businessman. Although if he did go to school to study that, he must have failed public speaking classes. Once again, he had his gun and we were firing those shots. We also then got a better idea about which side of the fence MJF is going to sit on, because he turns his attention to Will Ospreay. He was like, well, I'm super duper mad at you because you keep saying that you're the best in the world. But let me name a few people to you: Chris Jericho, Adam Cole, Cody Rhodes, and I started going around, Tanahashi, or John Moxley. I have beaten all of them. I don't think you have, so next time you want vocals to come out of your larynx, maybe you should think about that. You bad teeth British person. That's what he said, isn't it? Hard for me not to take it personally. So I can only assume that we are setting this match up for later in the year, and if Will Ospreay does win the World Championship at All In, well, the latter part of 2024, when it comes to All Elite Wrestling, if these two collide, well, it should be flubbing damn good. MJF then continued to tell us how great he was, which is why he was so annoyed that all these people were trying to take away his legacy, when it was essentially the opening promo of Raw, and somebody interrupted. I mean, it is wrestling. Now, thankfully, all of this did make sense, because it was Roosh, and he'd already called Maxwell out before this. He was like, man, you went home, I stayed here, and I was getting all of these big wins, so where is my congratulatory party? I was like, okay, Roosh, I suppose, woohoo, hey, you won that random match on Rampage. MJF then made me laugh because he said I didn't understand a word of what you just said, which goes to show how stupid this show is. I mean, it was bad enough when Tony Khan was running it, but now when it comes to production, the Elite have made it even worse. Max also now has his own "it doesn't matter," because when he told Roosh to repeat himself, he said, we don't give a shib. That's going to be interesting. When he also insisted that Roosh couldn't, make a woman horny. Don't get mad at me. I mean, that's what he said. I mean, he was far more blue than that. Let's just move on. MJF also made sure to reference that they had business before when he paid Roosh to take out Bryan Danielson, and I always enjoy those callbacks. And look, he gets it. Roosh was a massive star in Mexico, and now he's come to the United States of America, and he's doing the same darn thing. The problem is, he may have faced some of the best, but they are not the best, because that's Friedman. He then spoke in Spanish, which must have been very offensive because these two started to brawl before Christopher Daniels ran out with the officials to break it up, and the security actually did a good job here. So I can only presume this is going to be a TV match. I would imagine it's going to be pretty damn good. It's interesting as well because I don't know what follows it, but look, it's always fun to see Maxwell Jacob Friedman firing shots at people, and Roosh does deserve a big opportunity like this. I imagine it's probably his biggest match since he arrived in AEW, so I am going to give it an up. Mainly, like I've said once, and I'll say it twice, I have missed MJF. And then got a quick video for Roderick Strong, and it was very good actually, who is going to be facing Swerve Strickland for the world title later. Yes, we're gonna have to talk about it. Now look, I don't actually care in the grand scheme of things, but Roderick did get this opportunity because on Collision, he went to Tony Khan and he said, man, I wasn't able to get in that casino gauntlet because I was the last guy, and before my entrance started, the match was already over. Now as a smaller side, we should make sure that everybody talks about this. It's one of the best stipulations of that gimmick. The problem is when Tony did hear this, he went, well, I understand your complaint. And he just gave him a title shot, which begs the question, why even enter the casino gauntlet when as ever in 2024 wrestling you can just go, geese title shot. It also makes Will Ospreay's effort into winning the whole thing just negated a little bit, and yes, because we do have to compare everything, otherwise people go nuts, it would be exactly the same if WWE did it, but the comparisons people were making this week didn't work. Because if all of a sudden Roderick Strong did re-debut in NXT, or if he'd never worked there before and he did make a debut, and he attacked the champion, there's far more justification to go, well now, those two probably should have a match. And it doesn't matter again in the grand scheme of things. I'm repeating myself, but I do understand this logic. It is 2 + 2 = potato, so I'm a man of the people. I hear you with my ears. That's getting it down. And I'm also going to tie that into the fact we then did have a #1 contender match for the international title, and both Kyle O'Reilly and Jay Lethal were in this. Now, Kyle just tried to win that thing and he failed, and as for Jay, we haven't really seen him have a match for around about 72,941 years. The thing is though, they also had Orange Cassidy and Phoenix in there. This is when I take all that idea and I throw it to one side. This was bloody brilliant. Now, I'm totally amazed we didn't advertise this before the show, because we could have done. One of the first things we saw was Lethal grabbing Phoenix and just throwing him over the top rope to the floor. Sheesh. Orange Cassidy then hit Jay with a crossbody when all of a sudden he was doing dives when Kyle O'Reilly felt left out. He went after Orange Cassidy's arms. So we've arrived here again. Pieces of fruits do have limbs. My gosh. Phoenix was then back with Jay Lethal. He just went at 1,000,000 miles an hour when Kyle O'Reilly was like, uh-oh, I think Jay is going for the lethal injection, so he stopped that. Eventually, Phoenix felt offended by that, so him and Kyle went at it. I was just clapping them. I know it's not everyone's cups of tea, but it is mine. Fill up my mug. It also meant Orange Cassidy was free, so he hit Jay Lethal with the Stun Dog Millionaire, as once again, this was so damn fun. When Kyle was actually applying arm bars, and Phoenix remembered, oh yeah, that could stop the match, and he just teleported in from nowhere to break this up. I was feeling good in my Tootsie Toes. We then had all of them running at each other when Phoenix all of a sudden was taken out with a DDT courtesy of Orange. But because he wanted instant revenge, he then went and hit the orange punch onto Kyle O'Reilly, who was gonna win. Jay then used his finishers to get rid of O'Reilly and Cassidy. When he turned to Phoenix, he was like, I'm gonna figure 4 your ass. Which makes no sense because you figure 4 somebody's legs, but of course Phoenix had this scouted, and he hit the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, surprise roll up, and he got the 1, 2, 3. So one, like I've already told you, this was so entertaining, but it also means in 7 days, we are getting Will Ospreay versus Phoenix. This ties into what AEW tells you a lot. Sometimes they just want to give you some matches that you are going to enjoy. And well, that one sums me up. It is totally getting it up. It all kicked off after this as well because Trent and Don Cassidy came to the ring and they were going to beat Orange Cassidy up with a chair, and all of a sudden Chris Statlander and Stokely Hathaway were here too. Now I do believe Stokely said to Orange, she is going to put that boot so far up your ass, you're going to be coughing up leather. I was like, man, please don't do it. She did smack Orange though, which was pretty cool given their history, when of course the obvious happened, but it was a wonderful obvious. Willow Nightingale returned to Dynamite. She got a mega pop and she went after her former friend. She literally chased these idiots away too, because Statlander picked up Hathaway as they legged it to the back. I'm just going to throw it in here as well. Willow Nightingale soon after this cut this amazing promo. She was like, Chris, I can't believe you did betray me, but don't forget my smile is my strength. Why did we not let her talk sooner? She also admitted that Mercedes Moné had beaten her, but let's not forget she did have a visual pinfall, but Chris Statlander and Stokely Hathaway were distracting the referee. So I think all of this has come together so damn well, and the feud between Chris Statlander and Willow, I think it could be big time, as long as we give it time to be big time. I said time too much there, but I enjoyed all of this. Getting it up. During that interview too, we also saw Orange Cassidy give Willow Nightingale a fist bump, so I presume we're going to do the mixed tag when we rewind just a little bit. Chris Jericho and the Learning Tree arrived at the venue. And the reason they wanted to film this is because Jericho said to the driver, man, I've been driving a long time, I can give you some lessons. When he even took over the cameraman shot, because he wanted to reframe it, because once again, he just wants to give everybody lessons. Now I know this stuff is dividing people like crazy, but it's so dumb it makes me laugh, especially this Brian Keith character, who is obsessed with people respecting Chris Jericho, but his delivery is so well done, I kind of want to see where it goes. Chris Daniels then walked out to remind us that we are having the ladder match at Forbidden Door pay-per-view to decide who the brand new TNT champion would be. We got a match to do a qualifier, and it was Mark Briscoe versus Brian Cage. What? Now I'm not going to go through it again, but it is interesting because we haven't seen Briscoe since he won the Ring of Honor World title. And as for Brian Cage, look, I love the man. I think he's severely underrated, but he never wins. Like ever, and he didn't win here either. But you know what? This one I didn't care because they just went at it, and I thought it was great. Early on too, Mark Briscoe was going to jump off a chair, but the referee was like, I don't think you could do that, so he stole it away. This is when Cage did his inside-out suplex thing, or outside-in suplex thing. The point is, he's really powerful. Look at his bicep. He also really whooped this dude afterwards, which kind of told you who was winning. What I really liked about this is halfway through, we saw Takeshita and Don Callis watching, and we saw Jack Perry watching from the back, because they too are going to be involved in this ladder match. And a good way to tell the audience, oh my gosh, this is important, is to have your opponent say, oh man, I tell you, this is important. Brian hit this amazing pump handle slap for a 1-2 when he hit a Liger bomb for another 1-2. He was kind of getting pissed off here. And I was like, yeah, I get it, Brian. You've already been told you're not winning wrestling. Before that too, we also had Mark just diving off the chair into this dive. And He basically slammed himself into the announce table, but he was smiling and he was having a good time. And this is why he may be the best babyface on the whole damn roster. Cage then tried for the drill claw, but Mark Briscoe was able to wiggle jiggle out of that when he smacked Bryan right in the face and he hit the froggy bow for the 1, 2, 3. And it's just good times, man. Like, we've gone over some of the criticisms, but he just comes across like the best guy ever. And in a ladder match too, my word. Hold your horses, whatever that means, good match. Jack Perry then cut a quick promo going, none of this matters because I am going to become the new TNT champion, which he probably should do when Renee Paquette had found Hook and Samoa Joe. Now they are super duper buddies, though they made it very clear this is not a tutelage and we're kind of a team. And I'm a bit confused. Why the hell did they mug Shibata off? Where did he go? It was also totally mad because they were then interrupted by Tony Nese, Ari Daivari, and Mark Sterling, who were like, oh man, well look who it is. And listen, I like all three of those guys too, but when the flub was the last time you saw him on TV. Now Hook was going to kill them, but Samoa Joe calmed them down because he's like, look, there's loads of security here. They're trying to goad you in, so once again, it will be on our time. And look, I get it. If we are trying to establish Samoa and Hook as a team, they got to beat someone. But we just need to do less of these matches when the winner and loser are super duper obvious. Which is when we saw the Learning Tree walk up to Matt Menard and Angelo Parker. I was excited straight away because you just knew this was going to be silly. It was too, because Chris Jericho was all like, oh my gosh, Matt Menard, Daddy Magic, I'm so happy you have taken over commentary duties on Rampage. But remember to enunciate. Matt Menard was like, enunciate? I hate you. Well, he pronounced it wrong. Talk about a verbal typo, I quit. They also turned their attention to Angelo Parker and they were like, congratulations on the fact you are having a kid and getting married to Ruby Soho, although they already are wed. When Brian Keith was like, man, you're having a child. It better respect Chris Jericho. So again, I don't know what's going to happen to the Learning Tree going forward, but the best part of it is flipping Brian Keith. So I suppose we're probably going to do the former 2.0 taking on Big Bill and Brian, which I'd be totally fine with, when the Acclaimed were making their entrance and they were doing their rap. That's what they do. The thing is though, when they describe the Young Bucks' EVP status as standing for extremely vague perverts, Matthew and Nicholas Jackson appeared on the screen and was like, have you not read your handbook? You're not allowed to insult us, so we are cancelling this segment. Fair play to him, he got mega boos. They also told the officials to clear the arena because they are going to whatever is meant to come next. I do have to say, I really enjoy the Bucks being these obnoxious assholes. They do make it quite fun. This is when Renee was talking to Swerve as well, and he did welcome MJF back before he called him a little bitch. Then I got a clash. Before that though, of course, he has to sort out his Forbidden Door match, and he does have a contract right here that he is going to send to Will Ospreay when he asked Prince Nana to actually put it in the mail. I was like, bro, why don't you just email him? I think the reason we did do this is because Swerve made it very clear we have to send it to England. And what pay-per-view comes from England? It is All In. So I just have this suspicion that we may build up the fact that William Ospreay is from that part of the world before he wins the world title at that pay-per-view. Look, there's a lot to discuss here. Maybe you should do it in the comments. For now, though, he will destroy Roderick Strong in the main event when he also talked about the last pay-per-view. He was like, I saw Team AEW versus Team EVP, or Team Elite, and I should have been on Team All Elite Wrestling, but I wasn't, and that's probably why they lost. The next time, give me a call. And I like that, it made him come across like a badass. It's also great that we do have a bunch of people gunning for his World Championship because it makes it feel more important. When we had this video for Mercedes Moné and Stephanie Vacure that is happening at the pay-per-view, and damn it, it's title versus title. We also had a call back here to the NJPW Strong Women's Tournament, which did happen when Mercedes broke her leg. But in the semi-finals, it was these two going at it, so now they got to do a round two. And I tell you, that also should be a pretty damn good match. When it just got the most random match ever, I mean it. But for the first time ever, I do believe the Blackpool Combat Club were competing as a foursome. And obviously the best part about this is that it means Wheeler Yuta has returned from his injury, and he looked great here. So good for that guy. They were also taking on the four guys from CMLL because these guys just hate each other. And it was Volador Jr., Esfinge, Rudigo, and Magnus. I probably butchered the pronunciations there because I am an awful person. And again, even though this came out of nowhere, holy crap, it was so good. Because the bell just went ding, ding, ding. Then we ran each other. The bell certainly didn't sound like that. Bryan Danielson and Rudigo also just chopped the shit out of each other when Esfingo and Wheeler were getting into it, and they were going crazy too. And given that John Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli then spied this from afar, they just got in the ring and they totally ran wild. I even think they hit the heart attack. Esfingo then got all the monkey flips, and Moxley was like, I'm gonna cut at you. I don't mean he got a knife out and started slicing him. He hit him with a damn cutter. Rudiger was then hitting everybody with snap suplexes, so Yuta was like, well, I'm going to hit a Saito one, because this is about escalation. When Claudio wanted to be involved, so he big swung Magnus. I was shouting from my chair, you all just need to calm down, but also go more nuts. Volador Jr. then felt like he needed to do more, so he hit this mad code red onto Bryan Danielson. When Rudiger, I swear, hit the biggest arm drag I've ever seen. Somebody put it in the Guinness World Record. All the finishes then rained down like rain as Claudio got hit by a head scissors, courtesy of Volador Jr. When Danielson saw an opening and he just kneed him right in the head. He didn't see it coming. I love the finish too, because obviously that allowed Wheeler Yuta to get in there where he hit the spinning angle slam and he got that seatbelt pin to get the 1, 2, 3. And everybody just celebrated with him after the fact. So what a comeback for this guy. And you know what? It's lovely to have him back. Now, once again, I do get it's total 2 + 2 = potato. Where did this even come from? Although I suppose it will tie into the Forbidden Door pay-per-view. But when something makes me feel this good, I am giving it up. They are special, special talent. It was such a 180 after this as well, because we cut back to the learning tree. Chris Jericho was teaching people how to eat food. That is a sentence I just said. We also got this video that went right in deep with Daniel Garcia, as he once again told us about that car crash he had a few years ago. And yes, as he's told us before, it could have killed him. That's why he feels like he has to take every single opportunity that does come his way, and why he's going to go after Will Ospreay and his championship. And just to be a nerd here, why didn't we just air this last week? We didn't need any of the other kerfuffle. This just made you go, you know what, Dan? Absolutely should go and do that. Then turned out the Acclaim did actually have a plan for getting screwed over earlier, because they were trying to break into the Young Bucks dressing room. I was like, that is a bad idea. Security held them back as they finally did their job, as they called Matthew and Nicholas Jackson assholes. So I can only suppose eventually we are going to do that tag team match, but I cannot see Matt and Nick losing the belts. Wait and see. We did get a response from the Bucks though, because they were then in a room talking to Christian Cage and the Patriarchy, and they're still kind of buddies, but also there's like a sexual tension here, because they were all like, well, you scratch our backs and we'll scratch you backs. So I can only presume that maybe we do like Nick Wayne and Killswitch taking on the Acclaimed to rough them up, and then Christian could go after a championship or something. I do not know, but I do want to see what's going to happen. When we got to the match that everybody's upset about, Mariah May versus Saraya, let's go. Now, I actually like this for many reasons, and of course we started off here with Mariah dressed up as Toni Storm when she was in the Outcast group, because of course, who was another person in the Outcast group? It was Saraya, I am sorry, Miss Jackson. Saraya then dropped Mariah May at the bell because she was taking too long, when Toni Storm on commentary said, why don't you smash her tits? Don't get mad at me, that's what she said. Harley Cameron, who was on the outside with Saraya too, then cast distraction. This always works. And as Harley has come up again, I mean, she didn't do much here, but she has been on a tear recently, so let's keep that momentum going. Thankfully, May didn't care about any of this though, so she did come back with the sweet chip music. When Saraya came back with a DDT for a 1-2, when she was like, well, what would have happened if we lived in the 1980s? I probably would have applied a sharpshooter, and I probably would have applied a chicken wing. And that's what she did. And I tell you, she tied up Mariah May like she was an octopus. It was properly gnarly looking too. And do you know what Mariah did? Which did make everyone go, how could you do this, AEW? She tapped out. Though actually she didn't tap out. She had to verbally submit because again, she didn't have any limbs left. Now Tony did try to help, but Cameron and Saraya were onto this and they beat everybody up. When of course, who came out to make the save? It was Mina Shirakawa. That's also Toni Storm's opponent for the Forbidden Door, so they did face off after this. Somebody call Nicolas Cage. And then basically played tug of war with Mariah's head, which nobody has ever said before. This is why I think May had to lose. If she had won here, she wouldn't have elicited the same sympathy that she was receiving at this juncture. So seeing her two mums basically fight over her, well, it just worked. They want to protect her. You can even go onto social media right now and see a tweet from Mariah where she said to Tony Khan, hey man, can I be on the background on both sides of the graphics? Because once again, they're both my buddies. So this is why I think she did have to lose, otherwise you do not get the right emotion here. And you'd also have to imagine that eventually she can beat Saraya as she makes her way to the AEW Women's title, because of course she's going to side with Mina, and eventually her and Tony are going to fall out. It also means that the pay-per-view, it's not only a fight for the gold, but it's a fight for the soul. That kind of rhymes, so it must works. So I actually thought that one, this is pretty good storytelling, they got everyone involved, but two, finally we had a match, we were like, oh man, I know who's going to win and who's going to lose here, but we were wrong, and that creates jeopardy. And everyone loves Jeopardy. It's a great game show. I'm giving it enough. The Learning Tree then found Private Party and said, we've got an idea. Why don't you make it a public party and then more people can be involved. This is so stupid, I love it. Keith then totally lost it because he felt like Private Party had disrespected Chris Jericho. So there's your match for next week. And again, I'm just going to sign off with this by saying, I thought Brian Keith had a terrific evening, and he's getting it up. We then did cut to another segment, and I have to say, this episode of Dynamite, for my personal taste, was way too packed. But it was Bryan Danielson, and he had some good things to say. Because not only did he put over Wheeler Yuta, he addressed the fact that this is his last year as a full-time wrestler. Really, when you go back through his recent past, he's not been doing very well. Because he has lost every single big match that he has taken part in, and actually the straw that broke the camel's back was at the Anarchy in the Arena, because who lost it for his team? It was the American Dragon. I did get so excited after this though, because he referenced the Owen Hart Cup tournament and said, well, as it turns out, the winner of that does get a world title shot, so maybe I should enter the thing and try and become the world champion before I enter semi-retirement. And this is exactly what we should do. I don't know if he wins that title or he loses that title, but he should win that tournament. He's going to make that tournament even important than it was beforehand. My word, I would be so pumped for this. So yes, once again, we have to let it play out, but this is the planting of some damn good seeds. When of course we got to our main event, and it was Swerve Strickland versus Roderick Strong, and you can throw whatever criticism you want at this, but in terms of a match, flub me sideways, it was fabbo. Now we do have to remember we're getting this on free TV, so we should appreciate it. When Swerve went for an early house call and missed, they just started punching each other in the face. Which you would do, it's a fight. Roddy then got mashed into tin to the turnbuckle, when of course Matt Taven was casting distraction, which allowed Roderick Strong to hit that backbreaker using the ropes. And every time he does that, I look at him like, man, you are a really disturbed individual. Taven and Mike Bennett were then once again trying to get involved. But this is when Swerve continued to use our wrestling friends, because Roderick was being thrown into the ring post and all kinds of things. That must have woken up Strong, because he was like, oh yeah, I really hate people's spines. They piss me off. They was trying to break Strickland in two. Swerve didn't like that at all though, so we did get a stomp out of nowhere and a brainbuster for a 1-2. When Mike and Matt were up to no good again. Somebody put them in timeout. Now they totally failed because Swerve was unable to hit that slam powerbomb thing he does for another near fall, and that thing is so damn good. But actually, we did just get a little bit of ridiculousness. Because Taven and Bennett literally caught Swerve as he tried to do a dive, and Excalibur tried to cover this by saying, well look, they just grabbed him. They didn't really do much of anything else. I was like, sorry, one, that doesn't make any sense. It is 2 + 2 = potato. And also 2, because this did happen, Roderick Strong was able to take his med pack, meaning when Swerve got back in the ring, he almost lost. And look, once again, not a big deal. I couldn't unsee it down. Seriously though, Roderick then did hit this amazing Mortal Kombat combo when he got his own 1-2-ooh, and it was so devastating, everybody was down. Swerve then went all karate kick because he swept the leg when he tried to go for the house call, but Strong was able to get out of that, and just when it looked like he was going to hit the finishing move, he got kneed right in the skull, and we got the house call, 1-2 through. Swerve is still your world champion. Honestly, if you have 10, 15, 20 minutes today, go and watch it. They are so, so good. Also, let's not forget that Swerve connected with a knee that lended to a victory. As I keep telling you, if it rhymes, it means we did something right. I also thought we were going to get something after, but we didn't. And instead, Prince Nana and Swerve did the dance with some old lady at ringside. That was the best thing that anyone could have ever done in the history of pro wrestling. So, of course, I'm going to give it an up. And now we see what is next for Mr. Swerve Strickland. This brought us to the end of AEW, and as always, I know there are some holes in the script and some holes in the stories, and we are talking about them. That's the most important thing, to verbalize our feelings. But in terms of a 2-hour show, yes, we could have got rid of some segments. I totally agree with that, but also, it just flew by. Give it an up. Now also, please do like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click the video on the screen, which is Ups and Downs from Monday Night Raw, because we support all wrestling here on Ups and Downs. No tribalism in my ass. Shouldn't have said that. Otherwise, have a great day, my friends. I'll see you soon.